are struggling and you don't do anything about it, it's not going to make the situation. It's not going to make the situation better.
Definitely.
And so, but it can be really tough, and it takes a lot of courage to get to a place.
Hello, this is Ali Tarnishi, the host of One of Us podcast. This podcast is focused on people's journey who journey their struggle to success, their message, and the purpose of this podcast is just to spark a meaningful conversation and to provide a valuable insight about mental illness. And today, please help me welcome the Mayor, Andrew J.Leblanc. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Mr. Andrew, let's get to know you as a person and dive into your life. Tell us a bit about who is Mr. Andrew and as I said, this podcast about like mental illness and about like emotional fitness. Do you have an experience like personally or something that like you experienced with friend or family and stuff like that? Just your insight.
Sure, yeah. Well, thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And like you said, I'm the mayor in Riverview, and I also run a nonprofit organization called J.Leblanc Wellness. And so we're a youth mental health organization. We provide free counseling for youth ages 12 to 21. And so as you can understand, mental health is a very important issue for me and for the team that I work with. And we see quite a bit through our organization, and we see the impact that things like the pandemic have had on young people, but adults as well. And so maybe to step back a little about me, I've been living in Riverview since 1993.
Okay.
I grew up in the town of Riverview. I graduated from Riverview High School, and then I studied nonprofit management at CCNB, and then I've been working in the nonprofit sector for over 2 decades now. So I spent my career working with children and youth in our communities and trying to make a difference in the lives of other people. And now I've had the opportunity to be at J.Leblanc Wellness and to run for mayor, and here we are. So that's where we are now. But in terms of mental health, there's so much that we could cover. In my own experience, I've tried to spend some time in talking with even my friend group about the importance of addressing mental health. And I think even as a male, being able to publicly speak about mental health and the importance of accessing mental health is really important. Or mental health support services is important because there's a lot of stigma to break down.
Definitely.
as you can imagine. And so it's important for us to be talking about that because everyone has mental health. Not everyone is necessarily dealing with a mental illness, but we all have mental health, and we all can do things to either be proactive and take care of that, or sometimes we might be in a crisis and we have to address that as well. And I think it's important that everybody understand that no matter where you are, there are things that you can do. So for example, I have a psychologist that I see, and right now I'm at a place where it's really just check-ins that if things are really stressful, as they can be when you have 2 full-time jobs and a family at home, sometimes it's helpful just to have a check-in and say, okay, am I living by my values? Am I making decisions that fulfill me? Am I prioritizing things? And just sort of have that balance, because just like you take care of your physical health, you need to take care of your mental health too. So that's where I'm at. But there are times, certainly, for me, when I started seeing a psychologist was in 2017. My mother had just passed away from cancer, and so that was a really difficult time in my life. I had a lot going on, and experiencing a trauma like that. Fortunately, I'm in the network, and I'm surrounded by people who have these types of conversations. So I knew right out of the gate that I was going to go and talk to somebody about that, just because I wanted to make sure I process that well. Dealing with a trauma like that can impact a lot of things in your life, and so I wanted to make sure that I dealt with that. And from there on, I just felt like this is a really good thing for me to be doing to take care of my mental health. And so, there's I guess that's a little bit of how I have coped with some mental health issues, and we all experience it differently too. I think as young people, we're seeing a lot of different things as well. I know in my own journey as a young person, believe it or not, I was fairly shy as a kid. And I didn't love attention as much as I love it right now. And it took some really positive adult role models in my life to help me build some confidence and build a great friend network and surround myself with people who support me. And I was able to, I broke out of my shell, tried some new things. And so really, if there's decisions I make that people don't like, it's all of their fault back then for encouraging me to.
and thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your courage to share that. Like, who would think, like, Mr. Andrew, like he was shy and he can, and it is part of the journey, Mr. Andrew, because like when we go through like struggle, when we go through darkness, it's just preparing us for something that's waiting for us. And I really applaud you for sharing that. Like, seeing a psychologist, you don't have to wait till like you are low or you are like really struggling to go see a psychologist. Just see a psychologist just like to help you navigate through life when you have so many things, and it just like will show you like there is some trigger that's coming in your life, and this is a warning, this is an alert that you have to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, especially, I guess, in my other hat with Atlantic Wellness, we really focus on young people. And so we're looking at preventative mental health care for young people. And so our team are licensed counseling therapists. And so, we're working with young people as they're going through their middle school and high school years. Sometimes they just need a little bit of assistance, developing some coping skills. Maybe they're dealing with anxiety or depression. 24% of the young people who come to see us are experiencing suicidal ideation. We know that young people are struggling with interpersonal relationships, some social anxiety, and there's been a lot of what existed for mental health issues was amplified during the pandemic, and young people and adults are still feeling the impact of all of that social isolation, what that meant for the way we interact with one another. And we're still dealing with the challenges of that. So, we work as hard as we can to try and support young people and making sure that they have the skills that they need to be able to work through some of those experiences and challenges that they're facing. And it can certainly be a roller coaster sometimes, but I think the point is making sure that you're connected to a network that can support you no matter where you are. Like I said before, like some people, if the young people are they need one session to check in with a therapist, that's okay. If they need to stay with us for a couple of years because they really need more long-term support, that's okay too. And I think the important thing is that the help is there when you need it, and we want to encourage people to reach out, ask for help, and it's okay to say, I really could use some support right now. Definitely,
and like a really good, a lot of good thank you guys doing for Atlantic Wellness, because the young generation is the leader of the future, and if they knew and they can talk about that at a young age, they will be able to handle it or navigate through that like easily. And the thing, especially for men, like we find it as so hard to talk about like what's bothering us, or you can't cry because you are a man, or you can't like complain, or you can't go see a psychologist. It is something that's like, I don't know, it's especially for men, like women, and like I know like it's probably the nature and stuff like that. It's okay, but for men, like they have to tell the totally like the collapse, then maybe they can ask for help. So we have like as a man, like there is a lot of people going through divorce, there's a lot of people are single, there is a lot of people that they have a lot of issue, but it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to break that stigma around mental illness and just go ask for help. And the other day I had Janet Tipahir, and she mentioned there is a line that just started. It's 988, I think, like anywhere in Canada, like you call and ask for help, and that's really a good tool to have in our programs as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If you are struggling, there's certainly societal norms around men and women asking for mental health support, and there's still some stigma that needs to be broken on that for sure. But the reality is, if you are struggling and you don't do anything about it, it's not going to make the situation. It's not going to make the situation better.
Definitely.
And so, but it can be really tough, and it takes a lot of courage to get to a place where you're ready to ask for help. And I think the more that we have conversations like this, the more that we encourage and normalize folks talking about mental health and saying that it's okay, the more comfortable people are going to be when they do get to a situation where, you know what, it is okay for me to ask for help, and I can reach out to support. And support looks different too. Let's say, for example, like somebody in my social group is really struggling. The fact that we're having open conversations like this, maybe you're not seeing a mental health professional, maybe you're just having a conversation with a friend and you're opening up and talking about what you're experiencing. Sometimes just that conversation of being able to open up.
Big relief just to let it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, let's say you're a parent and you're really struggling. You have someone who's entering their teenage years and you're struggling with how to navigate that. Sometimes it's great to have a conversation with another parent to know that you're not the only one experiencing those challenges. My daughter's 8, and so I haven't hit that stage yet, and I hope I never do. I'm hoping there's a miracle and she stays 8 forever, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, that will go quick.
Yeah.
I remember my son was 8, now he's almost 12, so it's he's almost a teenager age, so I have to be prepared as well. Yeah, so definitely, like those stigma, it's hard to be broken, but it's just at least like let's make it normalized, let's make it like talk as you shared, Mr. Andrew, like we have to talk about it, we just make it normal, because just a friend, like sometimes you don't share it with anybody, but share it with somebody you trust, somebody that means something to you, because when you let it out, at least you will feel it is something that is just like that person could also have the same thing, and they will feel relief. They said, okay, this is because it's just chemical. Sometimes like we have a lot of chemical going on in our body, and it just need to be adjusted. Maybe something need to be met, and they think that's the key.
It could be indicative too of maybe deeper societal issues. So if we're not talking about the things that are creating concern for us, maybe we're not identifying systemic issues that we're seeing either in policy and community or community engagement. There's a lot of talk in the Greater Moncton region about how we're growing and we're diversifying. And so if we're not communicating with one another and we're not really identifying like, this particular situation made me really stressed out or is really not healthy for me to be in, if we're not talking about those, then we're not growing as a community, we're not changing those things. And you see that in some anti-racism policies that might be created, right? Like there are situations that we haven't talked about before, but we really need to start talking about moving forward. Unless people are comfortable identifying that this situation isn't making me feel okay, it's really hard to grow. And so I think it's important that we are again normalizing our conversations.
Definitely, and that's a good point. I think you mentioned it's also like you are a big advocate for like inclusion and diversity and all that stuff. So the community is growing, as you said. There is like so many ethnicities, some different culture, and sometimes what it means in this culture, it doesn't mean the same thing in the same culture. So we have to be like understand each other and be on the same page in a way that we communicate, we educate each other, and that's how we will grow as one community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you look at the cultural differences in experiencing trauma, for example, so the indigenous community would have experienced historical trauma much different than other cultures have experienced trauma in their life, and the impact of what that means for life now is completely different. So educating ourselves and making sure that we have an understanding of how different cultures experience different things, and in particular in the mental health field, understanding generational trauma and what that means is really, really important. And that's a big thing to do. There's a lot of training and education that goes with that, and it's not an easy thing to do, but I think the fact that we're talking about it more is a good thing. And
definitely.
We're on the right path anyway.
And also, Mr. Anu, like for instance, like a lot of people, they are not admitting like there is something wrong, but half of the cure is accepting and admitting there is something wrong. When you admit it and accept it, I think that's the beginning of the journey of healing and the beginning of like, okay, opening up and sharing with the other people that there is something that I don't see, but everybody's seeing it. So it's just accept and admit and ask for help. That's a big thing.
Yeah. Well, people say all the time politicians don't admit when they're wrong, so I guess maybe that's something I'm going to look at too. But,
yes.
It's that's certainly a big part of it, because that's how you learn and that's how you grow. Like we stumble along the way, but we're stumbling along our path to education and learning, and every movement is a step forward, and we may stumble, but as long as we are continuing to try and better ourselves, we're still going to learn and grow from those experiences. So.
Definitely. And let me take you back to when you mentioned like I still can't digest you were shy kids, and so what is the pivotal moment or like the turning point for you that you realize there is something that make you change, like to be like more not that shy boy anymore and like speak up, you know what I mean? It's just like a lot of people have like social anxiety, a lot of people have so many things to offer, but I'm shy, I'm afraid to speak up, you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I think a lot of my experience came from insecurity. My parents had divorced when I was young, and so I used to live in Hampton. We moved up here in '93, and so I think that move had a role to play in some of the insecurity that I felt. I've always been connected to music. I'm a big musician. I've always had friends connected, whether I was doing school band or something like that. So there's always been people around, but that insecurity that I felt kind of prevented me from really opening up and feeling confident in myself. And it was, for me, it was more when I got to grade 10 and I got connected with two friends and a couple of teachers in high school, and we started doing coffee houses. So shout out to my friends Brandon Price and Eric Lewis. They had originally asked me to join them in a coffee house at Riverview High School, and so it was a great opportunity for me to get out and play some music. And then I was very fortunate to have fantastic teachers all through high school. I had really great role models there, but there was two teachers in particular who were very supportive to me, Leanne Delaney and Ruth Arsenault. Leanne was the music teacher, and so I spent a whole lot of time hanging out in the music room. And Ruth Arsenault was my theater arts teacher, but also the director for the theater program at the school. And so when I was in grade 11, I don't know how this happened, but I got connected into the theater program, which really pushed me out of my shell to be standing on stage, and that was a really unique experience for me. And the two of them had a really big influence on me. They really encouraged me. I don't even know if they're aware of the influence they had, but having people like that in your life is really important. And having some of those positive adult role models in your life, they can really encourage you to break out of your comfort zone, and that's exactly what happened for me. And then so it was like mid-late high school that I really started gaining a little bit of confidence and maybe losing some of that insecurity that was preventing me from connecting with the people that existed around me that were already in my life, that maybe I held back a little bit on. And so then I did student council in grade 12. There we were.
Amazing. And that's a really good point, Andrew, because like the environment, the people you surround yourself with, the people who see good in you, I think that's the people we should surround ourselves with, because sometimes a lot of insecurity, and if you have like your environment, then maybe people pushing or like pointing or laughing at you at your security, it's time, like this is like message for all the teenagers and stuff like that. I don't choose that. Choose like see the teacher is a good role model for you and listen to their advice, and see also like a good environment, like a couple friend, 2 or 3 that's really like they have the same value, the same character and stuff like that will help you like to shine and show your best characteristic.
Yeah, we're all looking to create a sense of belonging, and I think that's fundamental, whether you're in elementary school or middle school and you're building new friendships, whether you're an adult starting in a new workplace and you're looking to try and find that sense of belonging in your work community, or you're with your neighbors and your friends, or whether you're a newcomer coming to the area, we're all looking to find that sense of belonging. So it's important to surround yourselves with people who build you up and who make you feel good. And for young people, that can be a real struggle sometimes, that if you're lacking that sense of belonging, occasionally we get connected in with the wrong crowd, and we find that sense of belonging in a place that really isn't building. It's not building us up in the right way. And it can be hard to see that sometimes. And so in my entire career working with young people, we've tried to provide those positive relationships and the positive learning environment for young people where they can get connected to the right things. And but even as adults, we're looking for that sense of belonging, and having that sense of belonging strengthens our community, it strengthens our public safety, it strengthens our community connections. It's why we have great festivals in Casely Park. It's why we have block parties. It's how we've built our town of Riverview. and how we've tried to create that sense of community. I think it's one of the strengths of the town of Riverview that we've done really well to create that sense of belonging. And so it's important whether you're a young child or whether you're an adult, we're all looking for that.
Definitely, that's amazing. That's a good point. You mentioned the sense of belonging, and a lot of people, as you said, like there is a big community here, and Moncton is a part of diversity, and each one want to show they're part of that diversity. You know what I mean? So sense of belonging, it should be like shared. It should be like something that's as a city, as a community, each one brings something to the table. Each one have something to share and be proud of. So as a community leaders, we have to welcome that and just find a way that with each one have that sense of belonging, to be part, and to gain that confidence, because it's self-confidence is part of identity and part of confidence as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that speaks to the difference between having a diverse community and an inclusive community. And when you have inclusion, then you have people that are feeling like they belong, and we're embracing one another, and that's the key. That's the target. So.
Definitely. And to go back a little bit, like you are dealing with your organization, like Atlantic Wellness, and probably you see so many different young teenagers going through that, navigating through that mental illness. What is some of the pillar that shape those teenagers? Like some of the pillar, I know like there is a ladder that you have to follow to build that confidence, to be able to share, to be able to navigate through mental illness.
Well, I won't certainly pretend to be a therapist. I'm not a clinician by any stretch. I'm great at spreadsheets, though, but that's about it. But I think it varies from youth to youth, right? And it depends on what their experiences are. So our therapists will walk through a number of different coping strategies to really find the one that works for that specific youth. So if let's say, for example, you have a young person who's really struggling to identify how they're feeling, or just to process the emotion they're going through. I know one of the techniques that our team has used before is journaling, for example, and getting young people to write that down, which would be great for more than just young people as well.
Yeah.
So there's different techniques like that our team will work with young people on, and it really is just about coming up with a plan for what works for you and what are some tangible actions that you can set. We aren't, as therapists, I say as if I'm a therapist, but our team's never going to solve the problem for you. I think the real strength in mental health services is working with young people so that you have what you need for you to solve the problem.
Each one have their own journey.
Yeah.
Journey is different.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether it's building your confidence in yourself to be able to live to your values, and maybe the exercise is just identifying what your values are as a person. That's an important first step, so that are the actions that I'm taking really speaking to who I want to be and how I want to live my life. Any different exercise like that is important.
Amazing, and thank you always for sharing all this valuable information, because this conversation is very important, and we're hoping it's spark that meaningful conversation that will give a good insight for the teenager, for adult, for the community. And Mr. Mayor, like I know you're a father, you're a mayor, you're a husband. How you manage to navigate through all that? Like I know, for the politics and the position you have, take a lot of your time, a lot of energy, a lot of focus, plus being a father to 8 years old, right? Your daughter 8 years old. Yeah. And as a husband, how can you manage, or some of the tips to people that are busy and trying to navigate through that?
I can't give away my secrets. That's
just between me and you.
It's something we talked a lot about when I was going to run for mayor on, what does that balance look like? I always joke that I go to the same events that I used to, I just get to sit closer to the front now. So there's a lot of crossover there. But the first thing for me, and this is something that I've spoken even with my psychologist about, is it goes back to values and priorities. So I have a lot going on. My first priority will always be my family, full stop. So if I need to focus on family, then that's what's going to get my attention first. Because without them, the rest is meaningless for me. So, I'm looking to build a community for myself to raise a family in, for others to raise a family in. I'm working at Atlantic Wellness because I feel fulfilled, and my family affords me the opportunity to do that in the way we work. So yeah, it's just about priorities and working towards my values. What I value is compassion, giving back to my community, making sure that I'm making a difference, having positive relationships, and so that's reflected in my nonprofit work, giving back to the community. I hope it's reflected in my political work as mayor and trying to make our community a better place. And I work as hard as I can to make sure that those values are reflected in my own family, as well, because I want my daughter to grow up, appreciating volunteerism, appreciating connectivity in our community. I want her to have some of those same values, and so that, it's passing along a legacy, whatever you want to call it. I want to make sure that she's been able to identify some of those positive values moving forward as well, so that I'm building a really good foundation. And the other thing, and I have to give a lot of credit to my wife. I wouldn't be able to do this without her support as well, and she has a full-time job too, but because she's been so supportive, we've been able to balance everything. And it's nice that a lot of the events that happen in Riverview are family-oriented, and so I can take Amelia to pancake breakfast. She gets to come up on stage with me for Canada Day and events like that. So she gets to be a part of all of these things. We get to do it as a family, and that makes it really enjoyable.
So that's the secret, and the wife. Behind every great
that's right.
Behind every great husband's a great wife.
You got that on camera, right?
So I see there, my friend Andrew, that you have a lot of great value, great characteristic, like the balance, family, value, fulfillment, and community, and those like 5 things that, like, if you are doing it, you feel like kind of like a happiness that you are doing something that's meaningful. And what it means to have like a balance?
What does it mean to have balance?
Yes.
Well, I think the important thing to remember with all of that is, I talk about the values and those 5 different things, but it's a lot of work. And sometimes your values are going to be tested. And sometimes, even politically, people are going to disagree. And, not every member of my council and I disagree. Sometimes the residents don't agree with the direction that I might see us moving in. And so sometimes your values are tested. It's about communication. It's about staying true to what you believe in and doing what you think is right. And it's how you deal with the struggles, I think, that is most important. And so, whether it's relationship based and, we have a fight with our family or we have a disagreement in the community, I think what's important is, and I'm doing a very poor job of explaining something that my director of clinical services has explained, is about repairing relationships and how you come back from those things. So I think communication is a big part of that, and just making sure that, staying true to your values means communicating effectively. And here's why I think what I think, or whether it's at home with my 8-year-old and maybe I'm having a stressful day and maybe I snap at her a little too quickly or something, we have to apologize for those things. And I think that's a humbling experience, to ask a parent to say, go and apologize to your elementary school kid for, the way you spoke. That's an experience. So, but it's important to do that because you are learning, your kids are learning in those situations. And so maintaining that balance is a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to live to your values. It's why I continue to see my psychologist, because for me, that's the outlet that's most effective for me to sit down and say, okay, here's everything I've been doing. Does it align with my values? Oh, you know what? That one doesn't. I gotta stop doing that.
So you do a check. This is not working anymore. Okay.
Yeah, it's that self-evaluation is really important for me. That's just how I handle it. I'm sure other people do things differently. For me, that's just the most effective way to be able to stay in line with my values and keep the balance. And when I stray, bring it right back.
Yeah, definitely. And then
my wife will tell me when I stray too. So
thank you for sharing that, Andrew. Just like the value, living up to your value, just make it a big like a big leader and a big role model, and that's part of leadership as well, because when you are teaching our children to see their father or their role model what they are doing, we are teaching them by action, not just word. And a lot of people, you see them like a good speakers and good talker, but in their action is really like you are not really building, because you are talking and people see what you do, not what you say.
Although I will say, I take a lot of selfies with my daughter. If you follow me on social media, you know that she's pretty used to it now. So if we've gone to an event before and she's like, I know, Dad, we have to take a picture now. I was like, yes, we do. But my wife jokes with me because she's not quite as fond of having her picture taken, so she's joking. She said, "It looks like you're a single dad," because I'm never in any of her pictures. I'm not. I have a fantastic wife, everyone. She's amazing. She's taking the photos many times.
Well, it's amazing, and thank you very much always for enriching this conversation and opening up and just getting to know you as a person, not as a mayor, not as a political figure, but a lot of our children, a lot of our young generation in our community want to see up to their role model, want to see up to their mayor, want to see up to the people who are in authority, so they can learn from them, and they see with hard work, with commitment, with being true to your value, you will succeed. As a community, as I said, we want to be proactive. We want to see how can we tackle this problem. And then now, if there is some conversation, if we talk about this, because one of us, it could be any one of us, it could be me, it could be you, it could be any one of us. And when we have the right tools, the right people, the right friend, or just the right person to tell us, to help us and be kind and see somebody struggling, go and talk to them and help them. How can we? I know it's it's a hard thing. It takes the whole community, not just any one of us. But how can at least try to reduce it or try to help to make this we talk about it and make this less happening in our community.
Sure. Well, there's a couple of things. I think from a prevention standpoint, I think in your social groups, with your family, with your friends, normalizing the conversation around mental health. And talking, being open about your struggles, I think is really important. Because, like we said earlier, it makes people more comfortable. I think as whether it's government or community agencies, making sure that we're doing the best we can to let people know what support services are out there, like Atlantic Wellness, like private practitioners who are out there, the CNY teams through the schools. Knowing what resources are out there is really important, and 988 is a great place to start. The other one that's a great service is 211. That's in the
211?
211. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a resource that is basically service navigation. So if you're struggling with something or you need to be connected to a support agency, you can call 211 and they'll connect you with the appropriate services.
Okay.
So it's a great resource for people to have. It's actually run by the United Ways in the province.
Okay.
So knowing what resources are out there, and then I think from a reactionary standpoint, that's when we get into more working with our provincial government to make sure that we're investing properly in community resources. So whether we're looking at putting money into nonprofit organizations like Atlantic Wellness, who are providing services, whether we're funding our healthcare system properly to make sure that we're not inundating emergency rooms with healthcare or mental health issues, when really there are probably better places that those folks could go. So there's a whole spectrum of how we can be responding. But for the day-to-day purposes, for you and I together as individuals in the community, it's that prevention piece that's really important. It's talking about it, checking in with your friends, asking how they're doing. If you know that somebody's been, you have a friend who's been really stressed out or they've been working a whole lot lately, they're really tired, check in and say, hey, I know things have been tough lately. How are you doing? Do you need anything? Is there support I can offer? We're a very generous community in Greater Moncton, and people are really good at that here. So I think those are the day-to-day things I think we can keep in mind and check in on each other and ask how the people in your life are doing.
Definitely, and just as I said, we sometimes have to read between the line and just see if we have a friend and they're going through something. We don't have to wait till they can ask us. We have to go approach them and see how we can help them. And I know the time is running after us, and one of us coming to an end, and would like to thank the Mayor Andrew Leblanc for coming and accept the invitation and for being open and sharing with us. And last word, my friend Andrew, to people who are struggling or going through a tough time right now.
Reach out and ask for help. I know that's a big ask. It can be really tough to have the courage to be comfortable asking for help. But things can get better if you reach out to a friend, to a counselor, to anyone, someone that you trust, that you can confide in. It's so important to be able to reach out and get that support.
Thank you very much for coming today.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Reach out, as Mr. Andrew said, and one of us, as I said, it could be me, it could be you, it could be any one of us. And always remember to be kind. You never know what people are going through in their life, and lend a hand of help if you can. Thank you, and see you for the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.